So today I want to talk about one of the most difficult things that parents will experience when their child comes to them with a disclosure that their other parent has done something to them. So I want to just make it clear that this can be on a range. It can be from shouting at them to something more severe like sexual harm or sexual abuse. So please bear that in mind that, and I will bring that in, that each situation needs to be assessed on its own. But just your child coming to you and saying that they are hurting in some way because of what someone else has done, it feels so horrible. Your stomach drops. The thought of them being in pain, you just want to fix it. And unfortunately, that pain can lead to people taking I'm going to say the word wrong. I don't necessarily mean that, but action that won't work in their favor in the long run for the child. So I'm going to talk you through some do's and don'ts with this. And the first thing to be aware of is obviously your own trauma and what happens with that when someone discloses something to that, when someone you love and you want to protect, someone who's vulnerable tells you that they've been hurt. It's gonna be traumatic for you. So it's, again, being mindful of holding space for your trauma, but being able to stay present. So don't ask for details straight away. The moment that they come to you, it's for them. If you start trying to ask questions because you're thinking, oh my God, I might need to tell Kafkas about this, or maybe I need to make a note of this for evidence, or I need to tell them about it, it starts to feel for the child like more like an interrogation. And actually, what you want it to be is you want to be their safe space. So just be there. Don't emotionally react. Again, think about your own trauma and triggers. What might happen for you in that moment, and just try and stay present. Because if you allow your own trauma to hijack you in that moment, then that can lead the conversation. So, for example, if you suddenly break down crying when your child tells you something because that's your trauma response, then the child who might have thought, well, it wasn't very nice, but oh my God, it must be really bad because you're crying, that can be leading them away from their own experience and into yours. What it also might do is it might mean that they suddenly have to take care of you, which shifts the role from them being the child to them being the parent. And again, so it's just being mindful of managing your own trauma in those moments. Also, don't jump to contacting someone. Don't immediately start firing off an email to social workers or Kafkas or the judge or the ex. If you want to say, why have you done this? Or they've told me they've done this. Stop and just take a moment. Number one, because you've got to be there for your child. Number two, that's a trauma response. And number three, it won't work in terms of your case management either. This is about you being there for your child. So the do's are: stay present, focus on listening only, just be there, let them say things in their own words, in their own way, totally free from your feelings about it, your interpretation of it. Because again, they might say, oh, they shouted at me for this, but they might have a completely different way of processing that, what they feel about it. And whilst that's not to say that they would necessarily understand the full ramifications of it, like you do, you still got to let them hold that experience and hold their view of it in that moment. When they come to you straight away, it's not the time to start educating them about what it is, what it means, the harm it does, any of that. It's just being with them. So just listen. Just listen. That's it. Don't offer advice. Don't offer opinion. Just listen. Now, obviously, when there's pauses, that's okay. Just be with them in those quiet moments and let them feel whatever they need to feel. That is what regulation for yourself looks like, and co-regulation looks like for them. And that's what forms strong attachment. That's what forms that secure attachment, is when you're able to just sit with their difficult emotions and your own and not jump into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. You just stay present. Do regulate yourself, because this is going to be about them. This is about their emotions. And if you go straight into how you're feeling, then like I say, that switches from being about the child and their experience to you and your reaction. And that is what we call the role reversal, where the child becomes the parent. They're looking at you and going, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for telling you that." Or if they're not saying that aloud, they're feeling guilty because they've upset you. So make sure that you know what's going on in your body. This isn't about you not being triggered, but it's about being very quickly being able to regulate yourself in that moment so that you can be there for them and their experience. And then ask them, what do you want me to do with this? What do you need from me to help you feel better or feel safer? Ask them, what do you want me to do with this? It might be that they say, nothing. I don't want you to do anything. This is fine. I just want you to hear me. I just want you to tell you. That's great. You've given them what they need. What if it's something more severe? You might have to then speak to them. But remember that one of the big things about the relationship between you and your children and how it's manipulated by a narcissist is that they are always looking for opportunities to come between you. If they say, "Listen, I don't want you to do anything," and then you go and speak to their parent who has done this, then you're betraying their trust. And that means that they may not come and tell you things in the future. It will erode that sense of safety and security that they feel with you. And that plays into the other parent's hands. That makes them easier to manipulate because the child will then choose not to tell you. So the child will hold this secret and hold whatever is told by the other parent, and they won't be able to come to you and say, "Oh, they said this," because they'd be afraid of your reaction. They'll be afraid of you going and telling someone when they didn't want you to do that. So it's really important to be child led in these moments. Now, obviously, if your child comes to you and says something absolutely awful has happened and you've gone through all of those steps, you haven't interrogated them, you have managed to stay present and help them to process it. If you then think an hour later or 2 hours later or 24 hours later, you think, you know what, I think I need to tell someone. You have to speak to your child at that moment and tell them that you know that they didn't want you to do anything, but unfortunately, you need some help with this. It's what you told them you can't handle on your own, and you need to get some advice. Because again, that honesty that you have with them, it allows you to then deal with the emotional kickback that they might get angry with you and say, "No, I told you that." And you can talk them through and you can talk about why you think you need to do it. They can tell you why they don't want to do it. And you can offer them, "I have to do it because X, Y, and Z." And you can work through that before you then go and breach the confidence rather than after. If you do it after without telling them, you are just creating a crack for your ex to get in and manipulate. Whereas if you speak to them and keep that conversation going, you can explain, not again, not to blame the other parent, but it is to say, "What you're telling me happened isn't right. And I don't want that happening again. I'm sure you don't want it happening again. So how do you think we can stop it otherwise?" And help them to talk through this with you. None of this is perfect, by the way. It's incredibly difficult when your child tells you something like that. So if you're thinking, "Oh my God, I didn't do that last time they said something," don't beat yourself up. Stop now. You know, you don't know what you don't know. Our trauma is a powerful, powerful beast. And when it takes over, sometimes it can take a really big effort to stop that. So you don't have to be perfect, but just hold these things in your mind as much as you can in those moments so that you can be there for your child. You can let your child experience what they need to experience, process what they need to process without your input. You're just there. You're just there as a safe space for them to say it, to process it, to bring themselves into regulation through that process of co regulation when you and manage to stay present with them. That is what protects your relationship with your child. That is what creates that secure attachment, is them knowing that they can come and talk to you. So as I said, if you ever need to go outside of that, when they've said, I don't want you to tell anyone, you've got to speak to them. You've got to explain to them. Again, make sure everything is age appropriate, but you can do this with even smaller children. You can have these conversations, but wait until they are settled and let the child lead the process. So if you have to bring it up, gauge their reaction, deal with the emotions as they present, rather than just shutting it down and going, okay, we won't talk about it. Just be, okay, well, tell me what you're feeling. Let's sit with that a while. That level of emotional connection is what the other parent will never have with them. That's your superpower. That is what will protect your relationship with your child in the long run, is you being able to do those things. So I hope you've found these things helpful. I am running a workshop on the 14th of July. It's all about these kind of issues, these problems that occur sort of day to day when you have a high conflict, manipulative, narcissistic ex. So I will share the details with that below. I do invite you to take a look. And if you have any questions or comments, do pop them below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Take care, everyone.